evening, everyone. Thank you all so much for tuning in to tonight's Town Hall. I'm Nick Asante, a senior at Richard Montgomery High School and your 43rd student member of the Board of Education. And I'm joined by other students from across the county, and I'll give them all a chance to introduce themselves. Jason, why don't we start with you?
Thank you, Nick. My name is Jason Wu. I'm a senior at Poolsville High School and a Montgomery County resident. I'm also the student member on the Maryland State Board of Education this year. Glad to be here tonight.
Hi, I'm Helena Itinfisu, and I'm a senior at Richard Montgomery High School.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alan Gutierrez, and I'm a senior at Paint Branch High School. Happy to be here.
Thank you to our student facilitators for being here tonight as well. And they'll be joined by MCPS staff who will introduce themselves throughout tonight's event. But essentially, as students begin to return back to school, I wanted to ensure that you guys have the chance to get any of the questions that you guys have about in-person learning and what that experience is going to be like answered. So hopefully you'll leave tonight's event having a little bit more confidence about returning to school if you are returning, and making sure that all of those questions that you guys do have are answered. So tonight we'll begin our program with hearing more about the current health metrics and the work that the school district did to prepare for students to return to schools. I'd like to introduce you all to Mr. Derek Turner, Chief of Engagement, Innovation, and Operations.
Good afternoon, everyone, or evening.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Can you please share a little bit about your role with MCPS and how you've assisted with the plans for students to return back to school?
Sure. So in my role, I help support the technology team, the operations team, the communications team, and business partnerships, and really bring everyone together to really focus on the task at hand, which is bringing our students safely back to school and supporting those who remain in virtual learning. So whether it's from the Chromebooks to the buildings, this is the team that I get to be a part of to make sure that all of these things are happening on behalf of our students.
Thank you. So our first question is, how many students will be returning to school in person?
So based on the survey results that families and students filled out in December and November, we have roughly between 60 to 70,000 students interested in returning to in-person learning. And that is roughly about a third of our student body. Which is, while it seems like a small number, is a large group to bring back in with the safety measures that we need in place, given that we're still in the middle of a pandemic.
So a lot of students are wondering, is there a plan to monitor the school's health situation individually rather than by judging through county and state data?
So the overarching lens is the county data, which shows that numbers have been going down in terms of number of cases in our county. We have roughly 10 cases per 100,000, which is a good number, not the perfect number that we want to have, but it's a good number for our county. And that gives us kind of a baseline of the health of our community and our schools. But we've gone a step further. So we have multiple ways to test the safety of our schools. And that's through the attestation form that students have been and families have been filling out before returning to the building. That's through the COVID pool testing that we'll be talking about later, I'm sure. And that's a way to know if students are positive within a classroom. But we have so many mitigation measures around safety, that from the masks that our students are wearing and our staff are wearing, to the distancing, to the hand washing, to thermometers going home, to the HVAC. All these things work together to keep each individual school safe.
Thank you. And with that, a lot of students are wondering as well, do we have to get COVID tested weekly?
So their answer is no, but we have a shared commitment to one another, right? So if you bring COVID-19 into our school building, you're not only potentially keeping yourself sick, but you're also spreading it to your friends and your teachers and your classmates. And that's not the goal. We want to share knowledge and not COVID-19 in our buildings. So you don't have to get a test, but we are going to be rolling out what we call pool testing. And that way, every student will do a quick nose swab, put it into a tube unnamed, and then that tube will go out to be tested. And we'll know if anyone in that class has tested positive for COVID-19. Again, We're sending out consent forms. You don't have to do it, but you should want to do it to know if you are safe in the classroom and if COVID-19 is being transmitted in your building.
Thanks so much. And the next question is, if students start to catch COVID-19 while learning at schools, what would be the next steps?
So we've already seen that COVID-19 can get into our school buildings over the two weeks we've been open, or I guess since March 1st. We have had COVID-19 cases come into our schools. We haven't seen any transmission across from student to student within a school building, but we know people have brought it from their home into our schools. And so when that happens, we identify the student, and then we identify those who he or she has been in close contact with. And that's whether they've been within 6 feet of each other, with making sure they have masks on, or if they don't have masks on, and particularly whether it's that contact has been for 15 minutes or more. And if so, then those students quarantine and are sent into a kind of virtual learning. They go home, they go into virtual learning, and we encourage them to take a test for their own safety. But you can't really test your way out of quarantine. So those students will stay home and learn virtually. And then when that 14-day period is over, they'll come back in and be a part of their school community.
Thank you. And this next question pertains to later in the year in the fall. What is the plan for the 2021-2022 school year as far as all kids coming back?
Our fingers are crossed that it's going to look as normal as possible with the health conditions. Again, as the COVID cases are going down, vaccinations are going up. We have expectation that we'll be opening schools 5 days a week with more traditional schedules, so that students can have that robust experience that Montgomery County students and schools are known for. We do recognize that it's going to be different for some families, and they might say, I'm not ready to send my kid back into this environment, or a student saying, I'm not ready to go back. And so we are building a virtual academy that will be able to support students who want to learn in the virtual model, so that we can continue to have that experience for families.
And bringing us back to this year, how do you plan to handle COVID safety if people travel for spring break before returning to school?
That's a great question, with perfect timing. As everyone leaves the next few days, potentially travel for spring break, we know that is a high risk. The CDC, our Maryland, and our local officials are all saying, please don't travel. But we know people have to travel for essential reasons, and we get that. So we're asking that everybody who travels to take a test when they come back. And that way we can help know if our schools can be safe when we reopen them. And the board recognized this, that spring break is going to lead to travel, and often essential travel. And so they've delayed the return to in-person, so that the in-person experience doesn't start on April 6th as we originally scheduled, but starts later in the week for our students, because we want to give the people, our students and our staff, the time to actually go and take a test before they return.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. So next up, there's been a lot of questions about the operational daily student experience. I'd like to introduce you all to Ms. Essie McGuire, the Associate Superintendent of Operations.
Good evening, Ms. McGuire. Thank you for joining us. Could you, to start us off, just share about how you've assisted with the plans to return to in-person schools?
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, and nice that so many students have come out this evening. So the Office of Operations includes facilities, so all of our buildings, maintenance, and building services for those buildings. It also includes transportation, and then it also includes our materials, including our food and nutrition services, as well as supplies, the warehouse. And so our office has really been responsible for a lot of the physical safety aspects of our buildings and of the student and staff experience. So that includes everything from all of the masks, from ordering and receiving them, and then of course delivering them back out to schools, as well as helping the schools to set up to get everything ready for students and staff to come back, distancing, moving things around, marking things off, and just helping provide some of those guidance aspects that are going to be important for the physical safety of re-entering the buildings.
Thank you for that. Our first question is, what precautions will students, staff, and teachers have to take when coming back to learn in person?
That's absolutely a great question. And as Mr. Turner was saying, it is really an effort that we all have to make together. The primary, there are some very core principles that we all need to do. And the first one is masks. Everyone is going to have a face covering and a mask to be in the building. Lots of hand washing. We have hand sanitizer everywhere, and also want to encourage people to take use of hand washing as well. And then distancing is really important. We do have to remember when we're together to try to keep some distance between ourselves, keep those masks on, talk to your friends, but do it at a distance and not be congregating in large groups. So those really are the core principles of keeping everyone safe, as well as really monitoring your own symptoms and your own feelings and exposure. If you have a fever, anything like that is on the list of symptoms, don't come into school, and be sure to report it to your parent or a teacher, as well as, again, just keeping track of again, your own personal health experience before coming back to school.
Great, thank you. A question I'm sure many students have if they're planning on taking the bus, but if they were to ride the bus, what would seating look like?
Yep. So our buses are back out there. We've got students on buses, and we are reducing the capacity in the buses. So it will not be as full as folks are used to seeing. And so we're having one student per seat. That does allow you that personal space. Again, going to have those masks on, and the buses will have masks on the buses in case somehow, you drop one, need a new one, something like that. It'll be on the bus there for you, as well as hand sanitizer. We're also going to keep the windows open as much as possible. Might be inconvenient a little bit, but getting that air to flow through the bus is a really important measure. And so that's something that people will be seeing as well. But the buses will not be as full. We're looking at one student per seat. And that, again, will give everybody a little bit of personal space and an ability to stay a little bit farther away from each other.
Great. Our next question is, how exactly are in-person classes going to work? How many students will be allowed in each class? And what will movement around the school look like?
Yeah, those are great questions. And I know everyone wants to envision, how is this going to be? So first of all, there will be fewer kids in the classroom, right? I mean, I'm sure all of us and all of the students there know some friends who are coming back in person and some friends who aren't. And so for the rest of this year, one of the ways that we're going to be able to maintain that distancing is just by having fewer people in the building. And so what that means is that the classrooms have been set up at about 6 feet apart, which means we're looking at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 or maybe 15 students in a classroom. That really depends on the size of the classroom. If it's a really big classroom, then of course we want to be able to accommodate as many students as possible, as long as we can maintain that distancing, so that when you're in the classroom, you're not right up against somebody and you have that space between you. And so that's also a practice that we'll try to employ in the hallways. I know the hallways are challenging when folks are changing classes, but there will be fewer people and there will be longer passing periods, which hopefully will give, again, people the opportunity to keep some space in the hallways, not be right on top of each other trying to rush to the next class. So that will help also. So the classrooms will be reduced, again, probably about between 12 and 15 students, depending on the size of the classroom. And many schools also are making use of their bigger spaces, where again, you can have more students. The key is really just keeping folks a little bit farther apart so that we're not too full and too close together.
Thank you. I know you briefly touched on this right in the previous question, but our next question is, how will social distancing be maintained throughout the school day?
Yep. And this is one that I have to tell you, it's hard to remember when we all get back together. We are, fall back into regular habits, and we're happy to see people. And so some of it is just trying to remember and trying to help each other remember, and just have sort of, gentle cues and friendly reminders to people to keep separate. The schools are covered in signs and tape and symbols and stickers, and just those visual cues, again, to help us remember. I think that sometimes just being there, having the mask on sometimes also can be a visual cue to help remember. Teachers are going to be helping. There are directions in the hallways in some schools just those visual reminders to all of us to maintain that distance. For the rest of this year, the biggest piece to that really is, again, the fact that we do have fewer people in the building, and that will help us with the distance. I think, as Mr. Turner was saying, the more things improve, the more we're able to have kids back. Hopefully we'll be able to loosen some of those restrictions as well and have a little bit of a more normal experience. Again, still taking those precautions to be sure that we're safe in the space.
Thank you. The next question is, when students do return to in-person school this year, is there going to be a process to disinfect the shoes of students and staff before entering the building?
You know, we're not real worried about the shoes. And I think one of the things that has been sort of the good news in the last year, there's been a lot that we've been able to learn. Obviously, science has been doing a lot of work to understand the transmission of the virus, and we're not as concerned about surfaces as we used to be. And so that is a good thing. However, we still are very cautious about that. Again, that is where the hand washing and hand sanitizing comes in. There are lots of cleaning supplies in the building. Building services is working very hard to clean those high touch areas and be sure that areas are, again, kept clean. Keeping your own hands clean is the best step and the most important step to that. But again, we've got cleaning supplies throughout the building to assist with that so that folks can keep their own personal spaces and desks and areas clean. But we don't have to worry as much about, say, shoes or other kinds of surface transmissions like that. So that's some of the good news. But again, we absolutely are looking to all of us who are in the building to help keep the space clean through our own personal attention to that as well.
Thank you. And I know this next question is probably something a lot of people are wondering about, but the CDC guidelines were changed to let desks be 3 feet apart instead of 6 feet apart. So will the back to school plan be changing in any way because of that?
You know what? That's a great question. And I know Friday morning, the CDC came out with that and all of us said, wow, what does that mean? So, you know, the answer to the 3 feet is actually sort of, right? So the good news is that particularly at elementary schools, we're hoping that will give us a little bit more flexibility and a little more ability to be sure that we can welcome back as many students as possible. One of the very key aspects to that guidance, however, was that it also emphasizes the need for cohorting, which is where you have one group of students that stays together, right? In the athletics program, which I know Dr. Sullivan will speak about later, they're calling it pods, but keeping a group of kids together. As you all know, in secondary school, that's not how the classes are structured, and we're not able to maintain that and still have the kind of instructional program that we know everyone needs. Kids are going to have to change classes in the secondary schools. And so as a result, we're really going to have to continue that 6 foot distancing, because again, the 3 feet that the CDC put out depends on a number of other things. And one of them is maintaining a more consistent group of students. So in the secondary schools, we really anticipate that we will still be looking at that 6 foot distance for the remainder of this year. Again, still taking all the steps that we can to be sure we can bring as many students back into the building as possible. We're very happy to have students come back, and we want to welcome back everyone that we can.
Thank you. And our next question is, will water fountains or water filling stations be available to students?
So again, the answer is sort of. So I want to emphasize the water's fine, right? So we have been emphasizing the flushing protocols and other safety measures with the water to ensure that the water itself is fine. What we don't want, though, is everybody drinking from water fountains after each other, right? So that's the piece that we want to ensure some distance around. So in schools that have water bottle filling stations, those will absolutely be on, and we encourage students to bring water bottles and fill up at those. In the elementary schools, we are really discouraging use of the water fountains, again, because we don't really want kids to have that closeness with the fixtures. We are hoping that perhaps in secondary schools, we can also rely on students to use those water fountains to fill up other containers or cups. And so we're thinking that might help us have some increased availability. Regardless, we're also going to be having some water dispensers and probably have to lean a little bit more heavily into bottled water than we normally would. But again, I do want to emphasize the water itself is fine. We really just want to encourage folks to, again, keep distance from each other. And so if we are using water fountains, we want to be very, very sure to use a refillable container to fill that up with.
Thank you, Ms. McGuire. So up next, there's been a lot of interest and questions about the instructional daily student experience. I'd like to introduce you all to Dr. Sarah Sergo, the Director of Learning, Achievement, and Administration.
Good evening.
Good evening, Dr. Sergo. Thank you for being here tonight with us. To start off, could you please share your role within MCPS and how you have assisted with the plans for students to return to schools?
Sure. So my title is Director of Learning, Achievement, and Administration, but at a practical level, I'm the immediate supervisor to the principal. So I'm the principal's boss is the best way I try to describe it to my own children. And as you may know, we have about 208 schools in our district. So I have 8 outstanding colleagues. There are 9 of us on the team, and we each supervise about 2 or 3 clusters of schools. I happen to supervise 26 schools in the Magruder, Kennedy, and Rockville cluster. So all the elementary, middle, and high school in those clusters. And our role as directors and as the immediate supervisor to the principal is we've been really helpful in organizing and thinking about how our school teams were going to make our plans come to life. So we take the ideas from the Board of Education and the interests that they have, and we help turn those into plans. And then we work with our school teams, our principals, assistant principals, and teacher leaders to help figure out how to make that become your return to school experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. To start off, a lot of questions that students have been asking is, what materials am I allowed to bring or should I bring to school for in-person learning? And will I still get a locker or do I have to carry my things throughout the day?
Yeah, so we know you need a Chromebook, right? So you're not, even if you come back in person, that Chromebook is still going to be a part of your instructional materials. And then it really depends on what else you might need based on a course that you're taking. And so you can still carry a backpack. You can still carry some of the supplies or things that you would typically use in a classroom, like papers and pencils and other materials, and of course a charged Chromebook with your power cord. But we're not going to be utilizing lockers. And again, we're just trying to decrease unnecessary touch points in our buildings. Lockers can also be a place of gathering. And so we're looking to reduce crowding as well. So you're going to keep everything with you, and hopefully you won't need too many manipulatives or other materials as you make your way around for your classes each day.
Great. Along the same topic, when we return, will there be maps provided?
Yeah, so I know this is a great question that many of our new 6th and 9th graders have. Or if you've never been in your school before, you're not really sure, where am I supposed to go? And even if you've actually already been to your school, your classroom locations may change, because a lot of our schools are kind of organizing things like, here's a 6th grade hallway or a 9th grade hallway, depending on the arrangement of the schools. So all of our middle and high schools are planning for an orientation of sorts. And so you will be getting information from each of your schools about that orientation. It might be a webinar like we're having right now in terms of the town hall. And also some of our schools are planning something on that very first day that you come back. During that initial early morning block around 8 a.m. in the morning, they'll also be available. But they are thinking about this, and they know that nothing feels more uncomfortable than going into a building and you're not sure where to go. And so each school has a plan to make sure kids end up in the right place.
Great. Moving on, if we choose virtual or in-person learning, are we able to request changing how we attend school?
Yeah, so we know that about 40% of our students across the entire district and their families have elected to remain, to come in, and about 60% to remain virtual. And we know that feelings about that change. And so at this point in time, if you have an interest in changing, you would want to email your administrator, either your grade level administrator or counselor, or whomever's been designated at your school as a point of contact, and they will talk with you about what's available. And so as Ms. McGuire shared, Building use and the number of students and spaces is important, as well as the available staff. And so in some schools, there's a wait list depending on the nature, again, of the available space and the teachers that are available to be there in person. But most of our secondary schools are eager and welcome the opportunity to have students come in for all or a portion of their schedule. So you just want to contact your school, let them know you're interested in changing your selection, talk to your parents, of course, who probably made that initial selection for you, and they'll let you know what your options are.
Now that we're returning to school, are all teachers returning to school as well? And if not, what are the in-person kids going to do? Is there a possibility that our teachers will change?
So it's a great question because we're in the middle of the third marking period, right? So we don't want to disrupt those learning experiences. And so your question is a complicated one because it's not easy to answer. Each of our staff members had the opportunity to look at their personal circumstances and whether they had personal, medical, or other reasons that might not make coming into a building possible. We do have some staff members who are promised, if you will, or we support and are committed to their ability to continue to work virtually. And then we have other staff who are, of course, going to come in and be part of that in person. So most of our secondary schools have tried to not disrupt your master schedule. So that means your primary instructor that you have today, you will still have. Whether they're physically with you or not is where that difference may be. So you may physically be in the classroom, but your instructor may be in another location virtually. But to the extent that we can, we know we're trying to make sure we serve both our in-person and our virtual students. So it really depends at the local school level what those opportunities look like.
Another question concerning our students is, if I have an IEP and I get extra help with my assignments from my teachers and paraeducators, so will they be able to help when I return to in-person learning?
Yeah, absolutely. We are committed and have to and must continue to support all of our students, and particularly our students with disabilities who rely on those legally mandated and required services in order to be successful in school. And so again, the adults that are physically there may be different, but the case managers who work with all of our students and the teachers who are part of their instructional support will continue to do so. And if a student or a family feels that their needs aren't being met, they absolutely want to reach out to their case manager and talk with them about an opportunity to look at the services they're receiving and have the school provide an opportunity to make adjustments.
Great. Will activities of in-person students be different compared to virtual students? For example, what will happen during the lunch and wellness block?
Right, so we know that the in-person and virtual schedules will be aligned, and the importance of them being aligned is to not only allow you as a student to move between virtual and in-person, but also to make sure that we are able to kind of provide a range of things. And so many of the things that are going to be available to our students virtually will also be available to them in person. So during that morning block, which is now 7:45 to 9 a.m. because the first class of the day is still at 9, there's going to be enrichment and interventions and supports. There might be some counseling interactions, advisory periods. So there's a lot of things, and all of those things live both in the virtual and in the in-person. But when you talk about a lunch and wellness break, there will be some differences because that is an off-screen time in many cases for our virtual students to do other things. And so for many of our middle and high schools, they are looking at both indoor and outdoor activity options. That's everything. I've had some schools say, well, they're doing a meditation group where they can sit outside and meditate, or yoga. Many of our schools at the middle school level are talking about recess. And it's not just for elementary anymore. They're talking about indoor and outdoor recess opportunities, virtual bingo. And so I think there'll be some ways of kids connecting, but there may be some experiences that only students in person have. A lunch will be provided, will be available, and students will have opportunities to eat and to socially distance, but also be connected in that same space. But that 90 minutes will be inclusive of both lunch as well as support opportunities.
Thank you, Dr. Sergo. All right, so students have been asking questions about technology. We know technology has changed over the pandemic for both students and staff. I'd like to introduce you all to Dr. Kara Trenkamp, the Director of the Department of Technology, Integration, and Support.
Hi, everyone. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Ms. Trenkamp. Would you mind telling us a little bit about your role in MCPS and how you have assisted with the plans for students' return to schools?
Sure. I am very lucky. I get to work with an amazing group of people that help with all classroom technologies. So our team makes sure that teachers, schools, classrooms, students have what they need in terms of technology for teaching and for learning. So that includes computers, Chromebooks, interactive boards, headsets, microphones, but it also includes the software. So every time you log into your .NET Google account, every time you join a Zoom, whether your teacher uses a Nearpod lesson, when you log into Canvas to get your assignments, our team makes sure that all of that is working, available, ready to go, regardless of the learning, whether you're in the school or learning virtually over the last year.
Thank you so much. So a lot of students are wondering, what is the teaching setup going to look like when we return back to school? How will it impact me if I am learning virtually, but my teacher is in the classroom?
So that's a really good question. And I know a lot of people have been asking that, like, what's it going to look like, and how's it going to work? I can say that as we've been popping in and out of teachers' classrooms, these teachers have just been amazing, really thinking creatively around how the technology can work together to meet the needs of kids that are in the classroom and the ones that still remain virtual, so that you feel connected to your classmates. Because as people said before, earlier on the panel, we're in the middle of the school year. So you already are in classes, you have relationships with your teachers and with your classmates. So how do you continue to have those relationships, and how do you continue to work together when some of the students are in the school and some are not in the school? And so we're happy to say that we've seen lots of configurations where teachers are using their cameras so that regardless, if you're at home, you're able to see the students in the classroom. They're using their interactive boards and other projection devices so that if you're in the classroom, you can see your classmates that are at home through the Zoom. You're able to very clearly see the screen by screen sharing using the interactive panel. And you're able to still work in small groups, to collaborate with your teammates, to talk with your classmates, do shared projects, and work together, whether it's in your Google Slides, a Nearpod activity, or creating some kind of project or shared work. So we're really excited about that, and really looking forward to seeing how the technology can bring groups of people together across time, and across space, really. So we're excited about that.
Thanks. So this next question is for students who are taking classes online and virtually this year, would they remain virtual going into the next school year?
So that's a question we're getting a lot as well. And I know that my colleague, Dr. Sergo, spoke about that a little bit. So we know that families are adjusting their desires for whether they would like to start going back to in-person, or they would like to switch from in-person to virtual. And so our schools are working to accommodate those requests as they can. So as space permits, schools are taking those requests and trying to accommodate the wishes of students and families as they change and continue to update based on the circumstances. Where there are space limitations, and there are very real space limitations based on guidelines right now, schools are creating wait lists, and they're constantly looking and relooking at those wait lists and their instructional program to see how they can better accommodate all of the asks, so that people are able to to attend in the ways in which they want. So if you prefer to stay virtual for the rest of this year, that's absolutely okay. If you are one of those people that would like to reconsider and think about coming back in person, then, reach out to your school and see, where they are in terms of space and availability of program right now, because they are looking at those requests daily.
Great. Now, this next question regards Chromebooks. If I'm attending in person, what do I have to do to get a new Chromebook if there's an issue? And if I am still learning virtually, how can I get help if my Chromebook has an issue?
So we are ready for you. So, we know when we went into the pandemic that, everybody was really scrambling to make sure that everyone could connect, right? So the very first thing you do when everybody's back at their home is figure out a way to bring people together, right? And you do that by making sure everybody has a device, everybody has an internet connection, and everybody has a platform from which to join, like we're in this nice Zoom call right now. So you need to have those core connections in order to then do anything, right? Communicate, collaborate, learn together. And so the Chromebooks that we distributed at that time and throughout the summer were what we had, right? They were a little bit older. A lot of them still needed to be replaced. And due to the pandemic, a lot of supply was really backed up, right? There was a global shortage of technology around the world as we looked at, all school districts and industry trying to get the same stuff, right? Everybody's looking at buying Chromebooks. Everybody's trying to get microphones. And then even the shipping in and out was delayed, right? Due to the pandemic. We are excited to say that we have been able to get in new shipments of Chromebooks specifically for secondary students. So elementary students did get newer Chromebooks earlier in August, September, October. Secondary students, we've been shipping new Chromebooks to the schools. So those will be available to you as needed if your Chromebook is not working for you. Many schools are looking at getting those inventoried and ready to go for the robust summer programs and also in August for the next school year. So we do have devices. They're coming in daily and we're able to help make sure that you have a working device that meets your needs.
Thank you. So our final question of the segment is, if we are in-person learners, will we be able to see our virtual peers who are logging onto class through Zoom?
Absolutely. So teachers have this set up in multiple ways. Some teachers have everybody in the Zoom because they do a lot of breakout rooms, right? So when you go to your breakout room can include kids that are at home and kids that are in the class. And so you can work together in those small groups and collaborate on your assignments. So you will be able to do that. In addition, if you're not in the Zoom because you're not, interacting in small groups, for that particular part of the lesson, teachers have been broadcasting the tiles up on the interactive panel so that you guys can see each other. So if you're at home, there's a camera facing the class, so you're able to see your classmates in school, see your teacher walking around. There's no reason why your teacher would need to be tethered at their desk unless, of course, they're doing something that makes sense there. But you'll be able to see each other, talk with each other, and work with each other so that you can learn together.
Thank you, Dr. Trenkamp, and thank you, Jason, for leading that section as well. All right, so next, we know that athletes have already started to return to school campuses, and we hear that schools will be hosting some extracurricular activities in person soon. I'd like to introduce you all to Dr. Jeff Sullivan, the Director of System-Wide Athletics, and Mrs. Shella Cherry, the Director of Student Leadership and Extracurricular Activities.
Good evening. Thanks for having us.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Before we get started with any of the questions, could each of you take the time to briefly touch on how you've been involved with the plans to return to school for athletics and extracurricular activities? And Ms. Cherry, we can start with you.
Sure, thank you. So I work with Dr. Sullivan and his COVID-19 task force, which I'm sure he'll highlight in a moment. But I also help to lead a ACA think tank, which is a group of professionals that work together. There are school-based administrators and principals. There are central office administrators and a vast variety of ECA sponsors, everything from drama to marching band, in ROTC to our SGAs and our Latin dance team. That being said, all of these different professionals come together to help prepare the guidance for the safe return for any in-person extracurricular activities that may happen in our schools after we return from spring break. Dr. Sullivan?
Good evening. First off, I try to keep up with Mrs. Cherry, who I've worked very closely with since June. And, my role as Director of System-Wide Athletics is to serve as the administrator or the commissioner, if you will, for MCPS Athletics. It's a job I'm blessed to have each day and to work on behalf of our student athletes and our coaches and our program. And so with that, all of the operations of MCPS Athletics, from scheduling to budgeting to facility use, and now in COVID-19 world, the task force. And as Mrs. Cherry mentioned, our COVID-19 task force is a group that's been meeting since June to ensure that our program has been ready every step of the way with whatever we can do. We have our slogan of we can, we will, we raise. And really with that mantra of we're going to do everything we can for our student athletes every step of the way. And so first semester, that was delivering the entire program virtually, fall, winter, and spring. And then as we've transitioned here into the in-person opportunities, using the task force, which consists of multiple departments in MCPS, Mrs. Cherry and Dr. Rumpf representing our ECAs and our fine arts programs, as well as transportation, communications, facilities management, safety and security. So all of the various groups so we can work together, as well as the Department of Health and Human Resources and the Office of Emergency Management and Homeland Security. And by having everyone at the table every step of the way, we've been able to have a plan ready to go. And when we started almost 4 weeks ago, we hit the ground running because we put in months of planning on the back end. So when we got to opening day, we were ready to go. And could not be more proud of the start that we've had.
Thank you both for that. Dr. Sullivan, you briefly touched on this at the end, but how has the in-person athletics gone so far?
Things have been great. And I want to start with our students because you are what make the program run. And we have 5,000 students participating in the fall season right now. And I could not be more excited in my travels during practices the first few weeks and then in the last week or so as we've transitioned to games to see our students competing back in our gyms and out on our fields. It's just been outstanding. So kudos to our students for everything, because you can have a plan on paper, but it's really putting that plan into practice what makes it go. And so what I mean by that is not just excelling on the fields, but our student athletes are doing everything they need to do as members of our community in promoting safe practices, whether that's masks and social distancing, coming prepared to practice, and most importantly, making solid choices outside of participation. So that's been key. I also want to highlight our coaches. Our coaches have done an outstanding job, as well as our athletic specialists in our schools, of really implementing those safe protocols, and our parents and guardians who have assisted us. I'm trying to avoid the sports cliche of a team effort, but it truly has been a team effort over the last 4 weeks. And it's really going to springboard us through the semester with athletics. But I also, just like we support the academic mission of MCPS in athletics, we want to support MCPS in the return to school. And we're very proud to do that and want to be working hand in hand, and our student athletes serving as leaders in our school buildings during the day as well. So things have been great so far.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear it. Ms. Cherry, this next question is for you. How will extracurricular meetings work? If they're on Zoom during lunch, will students be able to join the meeting during their lunch period?
Great question. So the ECA think tank really worked to prepare our ECA sponsors and our programs to be able to move into a virtual space so that our students would have some kind of continuous engagement throughout the scope of the school year, not knowing what the health metrics would allow, how soon we would be able to return to school. As we are now seeing many of our students beginning to return to our campus, our think tank has been providing that guidance to allow for two pieces. One, to ensure that there's still a continuity of engagement for our students. So if they are remaining virtual in the learning space, that they're still able to participate in our extracurricular activity programs. If they are happening during lunch, and if the sponsor is able to continue to host them during lunch, during this return to our campus, then they can continue in that space so that students will be able to participate on a continuous basis. If our students are interested in coming back to campus and participating in an extracurricular activity program, the other piece to our think tank was to prepare the guidance for any in-person engagement. So if there is a sponsor that wishes to host an in-person extracurricular activity, and if there are students that wish to participate in those experiences, then we will have some in-person experiences following our spring break.
Thank you. The next question is for you, Dr. Sullivan, and it is, will in-person athletics be available for middle school, and will winter sports happen?
So I will start with middle schools. The answer is yes. We do have a framework for our middle schools to implement an athletics program starting in the latter part of April through May. And so we'll have a 3-week engagement for our fall season, which is boys and girls softball and cross country. And then we've combined the winter and spring sports of basketball and soccer into a second 3-week window. And so that will occur over 6 weeks. And we've provided that framework out to schools for in-person engagement. There's also the option for virtual or a hybrid to allow student athletes to, as they return to schools in middle school, to allow them to participate in athletics as well. So we're excited to provide that in the latter part of April. For the winter sports, unfortunately, our winter competition season was canceled back in December. Due to the high metrics. However, we're still looking at providing some opportunities for basketball, wrestling, and swimming, really focused on our seniors. And I think with that, as we come back from spring break and the program continues to move forward and we have schools more open, we'll provide more information on those. So we're going to ask for continued patience of our students who are interested in those activities. We're really focusing on the spring season, number one, because the spring was canceled in its entirety. Last spring, we didn't get any competition in. So we want to make sure we get the spring season going and then allow those opportunities for engagement, particularly focused on our seniors, student athletes, because we want our seniors to really have a positive experience here as they finish up their senior year.
Thank you. And Ms. Cherry, our next question is, how do students earn SSL hours and what do they do with their forms?
Excellent. So we know that COVID has had an impact on our students' ability to be in different locations to participate in service learning in our traditional sense. And so MCPS, and a special shout out to Ms. Donna Cleffman, the instructional specialist in our unit, for having the opportunity to create over 60 hours of SSL experiences in the virtual space, this being one of them. Our students have been able to access different experiences. Some can be in person should the student and the family think that it's safe to do so, and that nonprofit organization has provided the conditions in order to be COVID safe. And then certainly many of our nonprofits, as well as MCPS, have provided a huge number of virtual SSL experiences for SSL credit. Tonight, our students will be earning an hour and a half of SSL, and there will be a special bit.ly link and a QR code that we'll provide to students. This evening, you'll only have to do the Google form and your reflection will be added to your SSL record. But if you were to complete any other service learning experiences and have a form, you can just email those directly to your coordinators. And I would suggest doing so before April 9th in order to be eligible for our special awards, and certainly before June 4th for the school year.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan and Mrs. Cherry. And so now that we have a better understanding of the student experience during the school day, students are still interested in the mental health and well-being supports and resources that'll be available for themselves and their peers once they return. I'd like to introduce you all to Dr. Christina Connolly, the Director of Psychological Services in the Office of Student and Family Support and Engagement.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good evening, Dr. Connolly, and thank you for joining us tonight. Before we dive into the questions, would you mind sharing your role within MCPS and how you have assisted with the plans for students to return to school?
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Psychological Services for MCPS. I oversee all of the school psychologists in the county. And I've been responsible for assisting and developing the social-emotional plans for both students and staff in terms of providing support, how to do like counseling virtually, how to do like our social-emotional learning lessons, training for staff in terms of how to go in, thinking about trauma-informed practices in schools, providing support to students, how to make referrals to your student well-being team, so forth.
Awesome. On the topic of mental health, many students have been wondering, how will schools address the mental health crises students are currently facing due to the circumstances that we are currently in?
Right. And we know we've been hearing a lot in the news and online, social media and so forth, talking around students and staff and our families and their mental health during this time, especially due to the concerns around social isolation and so forth. So what we are doing is trying to figure out, so how can we provide different ways of providing mental health support to our students? So one of the things we started working on in the spring was how can we provide counseling virtually for students. And so that will continue in our hybrid environment. And for those students who are in person, so let's say if your counselor or your school psychologist is back working in the building, then you can schedule an appointment with them and they can provide counseling to you in the building. But we do believe that the majority of counseling that may take place in schools is through, is going to be online, doing like on Zoom, as it's have been all year long. We've also been working with other outside agencies and trying to figure out, so like, how can we provide additional support to students and potentially their families? We have a partnership with an agency called JESSA. And I know right now they're working with 10 schools that are up county, because we know up county doesn't have a lot of agencies in the community that can provide mental health services. So we looked at that and saw like there are gaps in the community. There are places down county, places in like Bethesda, Potomac, Gaithersburg, but nothing up county, nothing in like Burtonsville, the Northeast Consortium. So we work with them to make sure that so families have a way of receiving mental health and students. And so we're working with them, and hopefully we'll be adding additional schools that will receive those services next year. And so we've also been doing socio-emotional learning lessons. So some of you may have been already participating in those lessons. So the counselors, the school psychologists have been providing them in many of the schools during like your Wednesday check-ins or during advisory periods. And students have been able to receive SSL hours for being a part of those lessons. We've also been working with teachers and with families in terms of, so what are the signs and symptoms that there's potentially mental health concerns? What are the things that you should be looking for in terms of like, my child is in need of help? So we've been providing trainings through our Parent Academy to Go. We have a weight-making video series, which we provide information about services that are in the county, services in MCPS. We have students who come in and talk about mental health and services that they have in their schools, or services that they have received, or things that have impacted them. And so with all this information we're providing, we're hoping that students have a better understanding of, so what's going on with me? What are the supports that they need, as well as our normal services around our signs of suicide prevention program, which is run at the secondary level for students to participate and learn how to act, how to acknowledge your friends' feelings, how to care for them, and how to tell a trusted adult, and our personal body safety lessons that took place this fall.
Awesome. Now, you briefly mentioned counseling. And so now that some students will be in the building and some will remain virtual, how will counselors support the needs of both groups of students?
Well, many of your counselors will be providing some services to students, either in kind of like the hybrid model, like we heard from others, so Dr. Sergo and others spoke to, or just like our teachers, who some may be in person, some may be virtual. It's the same thing for our counselors and our school psychologists. So many times you'll receive your counseling services virtually, unless like that individual's in the building, and then you can schedule an appointment to see them for your services. Or if you get that regularly, they'll schedule an appointment with you so that you can receive that individual counseling or other types of services or referrals with them. But if a student wants to see their counselor, you should continue to follow the ways you've been doing this year, in terms of you can email them as a way of contacting them in order to get additional help.
Great. Now, our final question of the night is, in the event that bullying happens, how do we report bullying if we are learning virtually?
Right. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put into the chat the link to our bullying reporting form. But there are multiple ways of reporting bullying, harassment, intimidation, issues around things that may be like hate and bias related incidents that may occur. So we want students to be able to feel like they're safe. We want students to feel like there's a way of them to report these situations that occur. And so you can either contact your teacher, you can contact your school administrator, your counselor, psychologist. You can also fill out, there's an online bullying reporting form for students who may want to go on there. They can fill out, provide information so that the administration of school can go forth and investigate it. We also have the Maryland Safe Schools tip line. And so that is an anonymous way. It's an app. It's a free app you can find on the app stores, either for whatever phone, the type of phone that you have. And you can download that. And that's a way of providing an anonymous reporting system. Because we know when like bullying or incidents of intimidation or harassment take place, sometimes students don't feel safe or comfortable in providing that information or maybe telling somebody, but this is a way of doing that anonymously. And so you can go on, again, it's the Maryland Safe Schools tip line. And if you don't, let's say, feel comfortable filling out the report online, you can do this way. There are, like myself and other members from the school district, we receive all of those tips through the Maryland Safe Schools tip line, and then we will make that referral to your school administration for you.
All right, so that concludes our program for tonight. Thank you, Dr. Connolly. Once again, this is a student service learning experience, as we hope you'll share all of the information that you learned tonight with your peers. You can please scan the QR code or use the bit.ly link that was sent to you in the chat to get the SSL form. No paper form is needed, only the Google SSL form. Please complete the form before 10 p.m. tonight, as the form will close after then. And then also, I'd like to thank all of the student facilitators and the MCPS staff who joined us today. Thank you for being present and willing to address the questions that a lot of our students had. And for those students who are returning in person, I wish you all the best, and I hope everything goes well. If you guys have any additional questions, as always, please feel free to reach out. Thank you all once again for being here, and have a good night.